Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest madness in Westminster as the Tories, who were so desperate to get rid of Boris Johnson before summer that dozens of them resigned from their ministerial positions to force him out, they've just turned up to vote last night to say they've got confidence in his government. Just another day on Normal Island, I suppose. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the government brought a motion before Parliament yesterday evening to confirm confidence in itself. Now, I discussed this a little recently. The motion was brought in order to sink Labour's vote of no confidence in Johnson's government in an effort to unseat him rather earlier than he'd planned. You know, reading the guides to parliamentary conventions, I am not at all convinced that the government should have been allowed to do this, but it is a weird grey area, I accept that. You know, after all, no previous government has ever refused to acknowledge a vote of no confidence issued by the official opposition. And I'm not aware of any previous government bringing a confidence motion against itself. There have been prime ministers who've done so with internal party confidence votes, but not parliamentary ones that I am aware of. And the beginning of the debate was it's quite surreal. It was quite very apt for Boris Johnson, actually. So Johnson opened the debate, as is normal. By the way, whoever brings the motion opens the debate. So Boris Johnson opened the debate because he brought the motion. And then he complained about how it was all a waste of time when MPs could be debating more useful things. He didn't know why Labour were messing about when the Speaker stood up to interrupt him and reminded the Prime Minister that this was a government motion. Yeah, because it's like Boris Johnson, oh, this is a terrible waste of time. Well, why did you bring the motion then? And the Speaker could have gone further. He could have said if the Prime Minister wishes to complain about MPs having their time wasted, he could remonstrate with two of his close cabinet colleagues who have cancelled select committee hearings, wasting a lot of parliamentary time. Priti Patel and Dominic Raab have both refused to appear before their select committees. How much time's wasted on that? And now this won't be Boris Johnson's final appearance in the House of Commons as Prime Minister, as far as I know anyway, unless he's planning on skiving off the rest. Because Parliament's still here this week, but it may well be his final debate. I mean, he should be doing PMQs tomorrow. He hinted last week that he wouldn't, though, so we'll see. Not at all surprising trip to Ukraine, I guess, is going to be on the cards. Or maybe he'll just ring in sick, I don't know. But various people pointed out how fitting it was that Johnson ends his time as Prime Minister by being called out for lying in Parliament. Because that's exactly what happened. Boris Johnson stood up to say a thing. The Speaker says, I think you'll find you talking rubbish there, mate. You know, he went on a bizarre rant then about his achievements, claiming that he'd met all of his manifesto promises. I mean, that's not even a matter of opinion. Of course he hasn't. Where are the 20,000 extra police officers? Where are the 40 new hospitals? Where's the levelling up of left behind areas? You know, even Brexit didn't get done. The Daily Express front page on Saturday, do you know what it had? The headline, Boris's message to next PM, you must finish job on Brexit. So is Brexit done or not? I mean, we all know it isn't. We still haven't implemented the Trade and Cooperation Agreement fully, and the whole thing is up for renegotiation in 2026 anyway. He's currently trying to dismantle his own oven-ready withdrawal agreement as well. The only bit of Brexit that got done was leaving the EU. And nobody can claim that this was the essence of Brexit. Otherwise, we could have remained in the single market and customs union and avoided all the aggro and international humiliation. I didn't watch all of the debate, but I did see various views from across the political spectrum describing it as particularly ill-tempered. More partisan commentators, of course, claimed that their side were brilliant and the other side were woeful. In truth, it was just a complete mess from what I saw. This was a government whose days are numbered, bringing forward a confidence motion in itself. Tory MPs who'd only 2 weeks ago resigned from Boris Johnson's government in their droves voted last night to say they had confidence in his government. At one point, when Keir Starmer was speaking, some Tory MPs started braying like donkeys, you know, like they do. Starmer stopped and then he suggested to them that they should reread their own resignation letters. And that's the thing. Like, how does this look to the casual political observer in public? I don't mean the debate. They weren't watching the debate. Just as news of it. Many of these MPs, these Tory MPs, who were part of Boris Johnson's government, wrote resignation letters explaining they had no confidence in Boris Johnson's leadership. Over 50 of them. This is why he announced he was stepping aside. He didn't lose a party confidence vote, remember? Yes, he would have, but he hadn't. The decision to step down was prompted by the fact he had no functioning government. Too many ministers had resigned. He couldn't replace enough of them with backbenchers because they were saying, I'm not doing that job. And those resignation letters were a varied bunch. You know, some were more brutal than others, but all of them, every single one, whether they were trying to be kind or not, expressed a lack of confidence in Johnson's ability to govern. This is completely at odds with their votes last night. This is what Johnson has done to politics. And I get that the government brought this motion so that they could choose their own words, so they didn't have to use Labour's words, absolutely. But it can't be a good look for the Tories who are going to remain after Johnson's gone. Opposition MPs, never mind MPs, just political opponents in general, are going to ask voters to judge whether they're liars or clueless. Because you put it to an average voter, your MP, right, wrote a letter of resignation. Here it is. Here's their letter of resignation. Do you see how they're specifically citing their lack of confidence in the government? 2 weeks later, they vote to say that they've got confidence in the government. Do you want to ask your MP what that's about? What is that about? Is the MP lying, or have they changed their mind in 2 weeks, in which case they sound a bit clueless? Which is it? How does an MP respond to that? And bear in mind that at the second TV debate for Tory party leadership candidates, the question was asked of them, put your hands up if you would offer Boris Johnson a position in your cabinet. Not one single candidate did. Not a single candidate. So that means whoever's going to replace Boris Johnson has basically said they will not give Boris Johnson a position in their cabinet. Not one. That means Tories don't even have confidence in Boris Johnson as a cabinet minister, much less prime minister. I talked yesterday about how they pulled out of the third TV debate because they were doing themselves and the party incredible damage with their public appearances. Well, the spectacle last night will have done the same. I saw a little bit of increased chatter about Johnson being placed on the ballot, which goes to members. I did expect this. I talked about this. Remember, although it's clear that a majority of Tory MPs realised it was time for him to go, and they absolutely wanted him gone before the party conference in October, something that would have been difficult, if not downright impossible, if they'd waited until September, it was by no means all of them. Right? There are still plenty of Tory MPs who wanted Johnson to remain in place. Okay? Plenty of right-wing commentators too. Hell, plenty of left-wing commentators. He was an absolute gift to the opposition. But various hard Brexit groups really quite worried. You know, they knew Johnson was easy to manipulate. They are now a bit concerned about his replacement. I get the impression they're especially concerned about Sunak, as most of their criticism seem to be saved for him. But I've said before, I don't see any of Johnson's replacements having the authority to really challenge the hardliners. If they try, I can see them getting slapped good and hard. What I don't understand is why their second target seems to be Penny Mordaunt. She's a member of the ERG. She's arguably the hardest Brexiteer of them all, at least on paper. Maybe they know something about her I don't, quite possible. Or maybe they're just upset that she once said that trans people should have some rights. I don't know. The fourth round of the leadership knockout contest will be today. Yesterday's dropped Tugendhat out of the race as expected. I mean, that's an irony itself. Of all the candidates, I'd never really looked at Tugendhat properly because he wasn't credible. But if he had have won, if he had have become their next leader and therefore Prime Minister, he would have presented the toughest prospect for Labour. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? The Conservatives have just dropped out the only candidate that actually Labour would have had to take more time to get to grips with. Whoever is left now is a win for Labour. Yes, there are ones that will be easier to deal with, but they're all a win. You know, it was absolutely expected Tugendhat would go out yesterday. I didn't expect to have to say Sunak gaining so many votes from Braverman being kicked out last week, though. Polar opposites. That suggests that there was some tactical voting going on. Maybe Sunak's supporters voted for Braverman to try and keep her in the contest to split the right-wing vote. Who knows? You would think Badenoch will go out in today's vote. She'd actually close the gap on Truss. It's quite interesting. It'd be actually, wouldn't it be mad if it's actually Truss that goes out today? But you would expect. I don't see Badenoch gaining a load of votes from Tom Tugendhat supporters, unless, of course, they're trying to manipulate it to kick Truss out. There could be some very interesting play here. I mean, I say you'd expect Badenoch to go out. But if there's a real fear among some of Truss, she's not got enough votes at the moment to... Badenoch's quite close. They could vote for Badenoch to get rid of Truss and then vote for Mordaunt to have a Sunak-Mordaunt ticket going to the members. That'd be interesting. But I would expect Badenoch to go out today, even though there could be some very, very interesting tactical voting. You know, but I've said it before, if Badenoch does go out, I expect her to exact a high price for Liz Truss for her support, because you'd expect her voters to then switch to Truss if Badenoch tells them to. And I expect Badenoch to insist on nothing less than being made Chancellor. I suspect also with a promise to let her bring her ill-conceived reforms for the Treasury. And I can see this being agreed. I often see Liz Truss as being very similar to Boris Johnson, vain, lazy, without any firm political views. I don't think she has a real vision for her government. You know, like Johnson before her, I think she just wants to be Prime Minister. This is why she keeps cosplaying Margaret Thatcher. She adopts personas to grease her path to Downing Street because she's got nothing of herself to offer. I don't think there's anything she wouldn't promise to get elected. Which may well be why the right wing are mostly crystallising around Liz Truss. You know, Mordaunt is a more natural bedfellow for them, but maybe they think she's too independently minded. Badenoch also seems much more in line with their natural thinking, but I just get the feeling maybe they see Truss as the easiest to control. But the major event will not be today's vote, even though, as I say, if it ends up that Truss gets knocked out, there will definitely have been some pro-level tactical voting from Sunak supporters, if that is the case. That'll be quite spectacular. But in all probability, tomorrow's is the big one. Tomorrow we find out who goes up against Sunak for the final stage. A stage that will last for the rest of the summer. And if Liz Truss is still there, will probably be a very bitter bun fight. In fact, that's actually a reason. The fact that Liz Truss has been by far the dirtiest candidate could be a reason for some more neutral Tory MPs to try and get her voted out, to vote for Badenoch to get rid of Truss, because the party fears Liz Truss trashing the reputation of the party over summer. That'd be interesting. Interesting. But then the dust will settle in September. We can then see the contest that I've been waiting for some time now. How do Labour tackle the Tory leader that is actually going to be up against him in the next election? Because it was never going to be Boris Johnson. He was far too volatile to survive in government, even with a massive majority. The only way he was going to be leading that party into the next election was by triggering a snap general election. That was it. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.